Colleague sends me creepy pictures and he wants sex with me. I am a 19-year-old man, and I recently began working in a startup environment where I hope to gain valuable experience and begin my professional journey. As excited as I was to start, things took an uncomfortable turn just 1 week after I joined. A coworker, a 34-year-old man, started sending me unsettling and inappropriate messages. At first, I tried to brush it off and ignore the messages, but over time they became more frequent and progressively worse. The messages started as random, somewhat awkward comments that could have been chalked up to bad humor or an overly casual attitude. For example, he once messaged me out of the blue saying he was about to masturbate. I found this incredibly inappropriate and unprofessional, but I didn't want to make waves so early in my job. Instead of responding or escalating the situation, I chose to ignore him and focus on my work. I thought this approach might make him lose interest and move on, but that didn't happen. One reason I hesitated to confront him is that he is highly intelligent and has an extensive professional network that I felt I could learn from. He is an expert in a field I am passionate about, and I thought there was value in maintaining a professional connection, even if his behavior was questionable. In a startup environment like ours, relationships and networks are crucial. I believed that if I could endure his inappropriate behavior for a little while, I could still benefit from his expertise. During working hours, he typically acts as though I don't exist. He doesn't acknowledge me directly or engage in conversations unless it's strictly work-related. However, this changes drastically after hours. At Friday bars, an office tradition here in Denmark where colleagues gather for drinks after work, or on weekends, he often bombards me with messages. Initially, I would respond because I genuinely wanted to learn from him. I thought engaging with him outside of work could help me gain insights into his field of expertise. Unfortunately, our conversations never stayed professional for long. He consistently shifted the topic to something personal or outright disturbing. For example, he would casually mention having orgies with childhood friends or make inappropriate jokes like, "Haha, I know you want to have sex with me." These comments were uncomfortable, especially since he is fully aware that I am not gay and that I have a girlfriend. Last Saturday, things escalated further. He sent me a picture of himself lying in bed with his bare stomach exposed, along with a message saying he had an orgy the previous night. That was the last straw for me. I finally responded, telling him, "I don't fucking want to hear about your sexual life." I had reached my limit and couldn't keep pretending his behavior was acceptable. My response made him angry. He accused me of not being a real friend and only using him to learn and advance my career. His reaction felt manipulative, as though he was trying to guilt me into tolerating his inappropriate behavior. He even sent me a 4-minute video which I have not opened. I suspect it's another attempt to gaslight me or make me feel guilty for calling him out. This has been going on for 4 months now, and I've reached a point where I can no longer ignore it. Looking back, I understand how these situations can escalate, especially in environments where there is an imbalance of power or experience. It has given me a new perspective on how women in industries like film or tech might feel when faced with similar exploitation or harassment. I am conflicted about what to do next. On the one hand, he is leaving the company next week, which gives me some relief. I know this means the immediate issue will resolve itself without me having to take drastic action. On the other hand, I feel a strong sense of injustice and frustration. I shouldn't have had to endure this for 4 months, and I wonder if I should have spoken up sooner. As a young man just starting out in the professional world, this experience has shaken me. I always thought these kinds of situations were rare, or that they wouldn't happen to me. Now, I realize how common they can be, and how difficult it is to navigate them, especially when the person causing the problem holds some form of power or influence. I'm sharing this because I want to hear from others about what steps I should take. Should I report him even though he's leaving soon? Should I escalate this within the company to ensure no one else has to go through the same thing? Or should I focus on moving forward, learning from the experience and letting it go since it's almost over? I want to handle this situation in a way that protects my integrity and professional reputation while also standing up for myself. Any advice or insights would be greatly appreciated. After reflecting on everything that has happened, I realize that what I've experienced is more than just uncomfortable or inappropriate. It's harassment. The fact that I hesitated to label it as such at first shows how conditioned we are to downplay or excuse unacceptable behavior, especially when it comes from someone who holds more knowledge, influence, or experience in a professional setting. The messages, the inappropriate jokes, the uninvited sexual comments, these aren't minor annoyances. They're deliberate acts that have made me feel uncomfortable, disrespected, and devalued. What's more troubling is that I allowed myself to tolerate it for so long, thinking it was the price to pay for learning and networking. Now, I see how harmful that mindset is, not just for me but for anyone in a similar situation. While I'm relieved that he's leaving the company soon, I can't help but feel conflicted about whether I should take action. On one hand, reporting him feels like the right thing to do. It would send a message that this kind of behavior isn't acceptable, and it might prevent him from treating others this way in the future. On the other hand, I worry about the potential fallout. What if speaking up hurts my reputation or jeopardizes my standing in the company? What if people see me as overreacting or trying to cause drama? I've also considered the possibility that he could retaliate. Even though he's leaving, he's still well-connected and has influence in this industry. What if he spreads rumors or tries to damage my career prospects? These are the kinds of fears that keep people silent, and I hate that I've found myself in this position. Still, I know that silence comes at a cost too. Ignoring what happened might be easier in the short term, but it doesn't address the larger issue. If I stay quiet, I'm essentially allowing him to get away with it, and I'm not standing up for myself or others who might face similar behavior in the future. I've thought about the steps I could take to handle this situation professionally and protect myself. First, I've saved all the messages and evidence of his inappropriate behavior, including screenshots of the texts, the picture he sent, and the unopened video. These serve as a record of what happened and could be crucial if I decide to report him. Second, I've been researching my company's policies on workplace harassment. Most startups have a more informal culture, which can sometimes make it harder to navigate situations like this. However, even in a relaxed environment, there are usually guidelines in place to protect employees. I'm considering speaking to someone in HR or a trusted supervisor to discuss the situation confidentially. Third, I'm trying to prepare myself emotionally for whatever comes next. If I choose to report him, I need to be ready for the possibility that it might not go as smoothly as I'd hope. Companies don't always handle these situations well, and there's a chance I might feel unsupported or dismissed. That's why I'm also exploring external resources, like legal advice or support groups for workplace harassment. On a personal level, this experience has taught me a lot about boundaries and self-respect. I've realized that no professional opportunity is worth sacrificing my sense of safety or dignity. Moving forward, I want to be more assertive about setting boundaries and addressing inappropriate behavior right away, rather than letting it slide. I also want to use this experience to help others. If I decide to report him, it's not just for my own closure, it's to set an example and create a safer environment for my colleagues. Even if I don't report him, I want to share my story with others who might be dealing with similar issues. Talking about these situations openly is important because it helps break the stigma and encourages people to stand up for themselves. As I approach the end of this chapter, I feel a mix of emotions: anger, frustration, sadness, and even a bit of relief. While I'm still figuring out the best course of action, I know one thing for certain: I won't let this experience define me or hold me back. I'm determined to grow from it and continue pursuing my career with confidence and integrity. Let's read some relevant comments. First comment was, "That's sexual harassment and it's illegal. Unfortunately, you are not alone. Inform your boss, HR, and your union representative." Second comment was, "Get your boss, union representative, and HR involved right away. Fuck what you think he can teach you, it's not worth it." Third comment was, "It's not just the movie industry. I honestly think the vast majority of women have been sent pictures/videos they didn't ask for, have been given a helping hand a little too far down the waist, or have been the butt of sexual jokes. It's really good that you share your experience. The more people speak up, the greater the chance that others who don't dare or can't speak up will be heard one day. And good that you haven't opened the video. It doesn't matter what it shows. The picture he sent you should be enough to get him fired or convicted." He posted an update after 4 days later. "After enduring months of discomfort and inappropriate behavior, I finally decided to take action. The anxiety I felt leading up to the conversation with my bosses was overwhelming, but I knew I couldn't let this situation continue unchecked. The messages, the inappropriate comments, and the blatant disregard for boundaries had reached a point where silence was no longer an option. Gathering all the evidence I had, screenshots of messages, the inappropriate picture he sent, and the unopened video, I scheduled a meeting with my bosses. I was nervous as I walked into the room, unsure of how they would react or whether they would take my concerns seriously. In a startup environment where the lines between professional and casual are often blurred, I feared my complaint might be dismissed or minimized. To my relief, my bosses were incredibly understanding and supportive. They listened attentively as I explained the situation, and their reactions were empathetic and professional. They assured me that what I had experienced was unacceptable and that they would handle it with the seriousness it deserved. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders as they validated my feelings and committed to addressing the issue. We reviewed the evidence together, and they agreed that the messages clearly crossed the line. They immediately contacted a lawyer to discuss the best course of action. The lawyer's involvement reassured me that they were taking the matter seriously and wanted to handle it appropriately, both from a legal standpoint and in terms of protecting me and the company. After about 2 hours of planning and consulting, we finalized a plan to terminate his employment. My bosses wanted to act quickly to avoid any further discomfort for me or anyone else in the workplace. They agreed that a direct and immediate approach was the best way to handle the situation. That afternoon, my boss called the coworker into a private meeting. I wasn't present for the conversation, but my boss later recounted what had happened. The meeting began with a straightforward question. Boss, could it be true that you sent some inappropriate messages to person X? Colleague, yes boss. There was no denial or attempt to justify his behavior. He admitted to everything without hesitation, which in a way made things simpler. Boss, do you think they might have crossed a line? Colleague, yes boss. At this point, the conversation was over. My boss didn't see the need to prolong it or give him a chance to defend the indefensible. Boss, I think you should take your stuff and leave right now. Colleague, okay. And just like that, it was done. He didn't argue, didn't make excuses, and didn't try to shift the blame. Instead, he quietly gathered his belongings, avoiding eye contact with everyone as he prepared to leave. What struck me most was the speed and finality of his departure. He didn't say goodbye to the remaining 30 colleagues in the office, many of whom had worked with him closely for years. Even his closest coworker, someone he seemed to share a strong professional bond with, was given no explanation beyond a brief, "I have to go." For someone who had always exuded confidence and dominance, his departure was shockingly subdued. There were no dramatic outbursts, no attempts to plead his case, just silence and a hurried exit. It was as though he wanted to disappear as quickly as possible, perhaps out of embarrassment or shame. After he left, there was a palpable sense of relief in the office. My bosses called me into their office again to check in and ensure I felt safe and supported. They emphasized that they had zero tolerance for harassment and that they were proud of me for speaking up. They also reiterated that if I ever encountered similar issues in the future, I should not hesitate to come to them. The news of his sudden departure spread quickly among my colleagues. People speculated about why he had left, but no one seemed to know the full story. I chose not to share the details as I felt it was a private matter and didn't want to fuel office gossip. However, knowing that my bosses had my back and that the issue had been resolved gave me a sense of closure and empowerment. Reflecting on the experience, I feel a mix of emotions. On one hand, I'm proud of myself for standing up and taking action. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary, and it showed me the importance of advocating for myself. On the other hand, I can't help but feel some lingering frustration. Why did it take months for me to reach this point? Why did I feel so compelled to tolerate his behavior out of fear of damaging my career? This experience has been a significant learning moment for me. It has taught me the importance of setting boundaries and addressing issues head-on, even when it feels uncomfortable. It has also shown me the value of working for a company that genuinely cares about its employees and takes their concerns seriously. I hope my story encourages others to speak up if they find themselves in similar situations. No one should have to endure harassment or feel powerless in their workplace. There are resources and people who will support you, and taking action is not only a step toward protecting yourself but also toward creating a safer and more respectful environment for everyone. Let's read some relevant comments. First comment was, "How cool that the boss took it seriously and there were consequences right away." Second comment was, "Damn good to have competent and responsible management." Thank you for listening the story to the end. If you enjoy our videos, so don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Have a good day, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it and hit the notification bell icon to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.